Hi YouTube, welcome to Shimmer Girl Talks. Today I am going to revisit Kevin Samuels. As you know, he died a little bit over 2 months ago. And I want to talk about the real reason why black women hated this man's guts. And I'm not going to name any names, but there are some, I think they're considered D-list actresses who really gloated and glorified in his death. And I might have mentioned them in the previous Kevin Samuels video. But the reason why so many black women had an issue with him was because he put a mirror in front of them and pointed it back at them. And I, as a black woman, did not take exception or felt insulted by what he was saying. Particularly because I felt that he was trying to be a help, not a hurt. He wasn't trying to hurt us by some of the things that he was saying. Now, I don't have a dog in this fight. I've been married for almost 13 years, but there are times when I wish that there had been somebody like him back when I was single. Matter of fact, and I've told this story before, back when I was in my 20s, there was an older black lady in her 40s at that time who did try to, talk to me about, you need to be getting your husband right now. But that's another story, too personal to go into. Not a bad personal, but just personal. So anyway, the D-list actresses, these are women who are now in their 50s, I believe, maybe closer to 60, who were surrounded by men of high value back in their heyday. These are women who would be considered the bad itches of their day. Men wanted them, women wanted to be them. And I believe, just speculation on my part, I believe that these women brought into the feminist idea of sowing your oats, having a high body count, your vagina, your business, which, yeah, true. But that oftentimes comes at a cost. And I remember many moons ago, many moons ago, I used to have this discussion on a black female geared forum about abstinence, celibacy, virginity, and I was laughed to scorn, dogged out, talked about, whatever. And and I used to tell these women, a loose lifestyle has an expiration date. And not only does it have an expiration date, I used to also tell these women that, right now you're young, you're in your 20s, you're in your 30s. And of course, the men are like trying to break down your door. But there's going to come a time when, after all that fun you think that you're having, it's going to come to an end and you're going to be like, oh, I want a husband. And sometimes, and I know some of these women now, they're in their 40s, late 40s, early 50s. They've had their children. They never got married, but now they want marriage. They were out there having their fun, having their children, but now they want to settle down. A lot of times women want to put the cart before the horse and then find that it's difficult to, get that spouse that they want. And that was all Kevin Samuels was trying to do, was let these women, some of them, there could have been some hope for them if they were in their 30s and they were taking in what he was saying, that, you need to be trying to get your husband now. Don't wait until, your X amount of years. Of course, he would bring up like dress sizes and, how many kids the woman had and stuff like that. That was the real reason why so many black women hated that man, because he was making them see that their decisions and their choices took them down another path. And now they want to, turn around and come back for that husband, and particularly a high value husband. And that's going to lead me to another topic. And I've seen this online and I've seen this in real life. One thing that I have noticed for some women who are still waiting on that perfect husband, that high value man and stuff like that, if you're a woman that's married, then obviously you settled for that man. If he's not a baller, if he doesn't have X amount of dollars in the bank, if he doesn't look like Shamar Moore or Morris Chestnut, then you settle. I'm still waiting on my Mr. Big, Sex in the City. You know, black version of it, Mr. Big, I guess. But there's going to be a lot of women, and I've discussed this in other videos, they're going to be disappointed when, you know, they get to a certain age and they're still single because they're holding out on something that's either unobtainable or perfection. And it's the dating landscape out here is horrible. It's horrific, you know, because you have men thinking one way, you have women thinking one way, and neither are trying to come together. They're coming together, you know, for maybe some casual sex and stuff like that. But again, that eventually dries up. And then you want something real. And so that's what Kevin Samuels was trying to shed light on. Now, I understand the irony that he ended up dying in his apartment with the very type of woman that he scolded black women about. Because this wasn't a black woman that was in his apartment when he died. She was a 32-year-old so-called nurse, unmarried, I'm assuming. And, you know, for black women, he would have been telling them, you need to be getting married. Why aren't you married? Why didn't you marry at 32 and stuff like that? And to me, that was a valid point. It doesn't, no matter how he was living his life and how he ended up dying, it didn't negate the things that he was saying. Yes, it might have been coming off as hypocritical, but the thing is, at the end of the day, black women are still often the ones complaining about lack of good men out here. And I hate the term F-boy. And one reason I hate it is because the main women talking about these F-boys are the same ones that can't wait to get in bed with them, you know. So it's like you really can't complain if you're being compliant to that type of behavior, that type of man, you know, that you know it's no good, but you still want to go to bed with them. So let's bring it back around. So the reason why so many black women hated Kevin Samuels is because, again, he was holding them accountable. He put their feet to the fire. And and they probably looked back over their lives and was thinking about either, you know, the men that they passed up, you know, when they could have been a wife. And the D-list actresses, I think one or two of them were wives at one point. And that's something else that, you know, he would talk about is, you know, well, why did you get a divorce? And yes, I know the irony. He was divorced twice. I get it. You know, but a lot of times I have found in our community, if somebody is saying something that's the truth, they want to downplay or upplay, I guess, that person's own shortcomings. You know, I don't think that he ever said that he was perfect. And when I talk about these topics, I'm certainly not saying that I'm perfect, you know, because I'm not. But I am a married woman. And that's something that a lot of black women say that they want. But I can go off on a tangent on that because there's a lot of black women that say they want marriage, but they want marriage on their own terms. And I can get into that. I might, you know, bring that up at a later date. But I'm going to come back with another video. Check out my other videos before you subscribe. And I hope you all have a fabulous day. Bye.